You're hurting me.
Sorry. I even snorted. I'm sorry, these things make me laugh. Joining me now, my friend Julio Rosas, national correspondent for The Blaze. And surprise, surprise, Julio has thrown himself in with all the freaks again. Okay, Julio, you're in Chicago, which is actually a pretty fun city for most of the year, only not now. What's it like there?
Well, right now, there's rumors circulating about a potential bomb threat at the hotels where DNC delegates are being housed right now. So that kind of sets the scene for how just kind of crazy things have gotten. Obviously, we're only day 2 into this. I don't know if those are real or not, but this was expected, right? I mean, the protests were expected to be crazy. Yesterday got pretty crazy. There were a lot of people, a couple thousand that showed up to march on the United Center, which is where the DNC is being held at mostly. And I got to be honest, I didn't think that they'd be able to tear down that temporary security fence. These aren't people that go to the gym normally. They don't really believe in strength training, but I guess they proved that given enough time and enough dedication that they're gonna do their best to take down any obstacle. And so it is pretty significant that they were able to tear down the fence in multiple places, because that never even came close to the RNC. And of course, this wasn't done by MAGA, right? This was done by the far left and actual communists.
Okay. I saw Joe Biden say this last night about the protesters outside having a point. Here he was.
Those protesters out in the street, they have a point. A lot of innocent people are being killed on both sides.
Okay, Julio, I have to ask, what are the protesters saying? All I see is little clips online, and I see you're reporting. What point is Joe Biden making there, Julio?
He just doesn't know what's going on. I mean, and that's obviously just been the mainstay for his entire time in office. I mean, they have a point. They were calling for him to go to hell. They were, saying that he's Genocide Joe and everything. I mean, these aren't his friends by any stretch of the imagination. And I cannot emphasize enough that a large makeup of the crowd was either pro-Hamas or communist, like straight up communist. And I'm not saying that to be funny, but I mean that is the furthest of the left within that coalition. And so they hate the United States. They hate what it stands for, and they'd be more than happy to, if given the opportunity, they'd more been happy to overthrow things. Now, I think obviously they need to have a bit more numbers in order for that to happen, but that's what they want. That's what they want. And so, they're just using the Israel-Hamas war as a vehicle for their radical ideas, as they typically do. They latch on to any current thing to advance their cause. And again, as we've seen yesterday, they're not. Their threats should be taken seriously, because they did try, and they almost took down the second fence, because the second fence was very flimsy. It wasn't like the first one that they took down. So if it wasn't for the additional police officers that arrived, I mean, they could have gotten pretty close to the United Center.
Good grief. Julio, are the Hamas lovers, are they the biggest and loudest and most violent group there? I know there are a bunch of different commie subgroups in this country, from the feminist hags to the LGBTQ Air Force types to I know all the different groups, but are the Hamas ones the ones front and center?
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the march, there was a guy waving a Hamas flag, a black jihadist flag, and a Palestinian flag that was superimposed with the spokesman for the Hamas military wing. So that was front and center, right? And then there was another guy wearing patches of Hezbollah and the like a Mars Brigade in the West Bank. So this is just something that I've noticed over the past couple of months, and I've told you before, where they're no longer hiding their support for Hamas and actual terrorist groups, because the war has continued on. The ceasefire hasn't happened. The arms embargo hasn't happened. And so That's why they're willing to not only say that we support Hamas, but also that we're going to try to breach the security perimeter around the DNC in order to pressure the Democrats to bend to their demands.
Julio, I'm guessing a lot of these people, the vast majority of these people, are not native Chicagoans, that they're, of course, bussed and flown in from all over.
And the official March Instagram page was sharing all the different groups that were coming in to Chicago yesterday, whether it was on buses or flights or you name it.
Joe Biden last night said this about the border. I thought this was interesting.
Then I had to take executive action. The result of the executive action I took, border encounters have dropped over 50%. In fact, there are fewer border crossings today than when Donald Trump left office.
Julio, you practically live down there. Is that true?
It is true at this point right now, in the sense that, yes, border crossings are down, but it's basically he flooded the house and he finally got around to turning off the spigot. And it's like, okay, you might have temporarily, solved one issue, but because you allowed this to happen for such a long time. I mean, down the street from the hotel, and I'm in the heart of downtown Chicago, I see tons of families, migrant families, having to sell candy with their kids out in the street. And, that's not a humane policy, but it's a desperate attempt. The executive action was purely political. He could have done it way sooner. He could have done it day one after he revoked all the Trump admin stuff related to the border, but obviously he didn't. It was an issue that wasn't going away. It was an issue that obviously a lot of Americans are upset about. And so it's significant that, yes, Biden might have done that, but he's no longer at the top of the ticket. It's going to be Harris, who was, a California radical who wanted to decriminalize illegal crossings, who is, more than happy to denigrate the Border Patrol and all that. So it shouldn't be taken seriously. It's not a serious policy. And even, yes, let's say he did solve the border crisis, we still have to deal with the ginormous after effects of letting all these millions of people in the way that they were able to get in. It's going to be an issue that's going to plague the United States for a very, very long time, even if Trump gets back into office.
Have you had a chance to talk to any Chicagoans? How do they feel about all these illegals? Are they just baked into the cake now? You got some cheap chiclets whenever you're leaving lunch, or are they still upset about it?
No, they're still pretty upset about it, because when you look at where they're placing the shelters, the temporary shelters, or the amount of money that is being spent to support them, a lot of native Chicagoans are just saying, well, hold on, you could have spent all this money on us, but you're instead spending it on these people who shouldn't even be here. And that's why it's been pretty funny to watch that the people that are saying it, they're not people that typically vote for Republicans or Trump, but they sound like, when they're at these, city, either neighborhood meetings or city council meetings, they sound like they're coming straight from a Trump rally. They're talking about building the wall and sending them all back in these deep blue pockets. Now, of course, you can say, well, they voted for that because this is a deep blue city, and there is a point to that. But at the same time, the horrific effects of that is more than just the money being spent. It's obviously all the crime that is being committed by people who shouldn't be here in the first place. Who, at worst, they handed themselves in to Border Patrol, and then they were released, and they've gone out and commit horrible crimes. There's just that case from the Peruvian guy who was wanted for like 23 murders, and he was released by the Biden administration. So it's not like I said, it's not an issue that's going to go away. I don't think a lot of people are going to buy the Biden and Harris administration's approach now and the campaign promises, because we've had 3 years of just total dysfunction.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.